Hello, this is Todd Shank from Premier FPL. Today, I am going to be doing, a beginner's guide, a, how-to, and basically kind of a look at review of Draft Fantasy. And this is at draftfantasyfootball.co.uk. Um, so I've been involved in some other draft fantasy games, and this is one that I was introduced to partway into the season. Had never done theirs before, but got into it, and I do enjoy it. It is a lot of fun. So I wanted to kind of start out. This is kind of their little FAQ section, and wanted to go through a little bit of these points, and then go into a little bit with my team and some of the other options available. So the first thing that you can do is, well, obviously you want to register and create or join a league. It's actually pretty easy to do, really get into. This is actually my team here. So I've created my account. I already actually have a team here, so that shows up here in my dashboard, which, as you can see, the dashboard does show up here in the top left corner. But if I want to join a new one, I just click Create Team, and I can join an existing league. I can create my own league, and then there are plenty of public leagues available. Part of the reason I'm doing this now is that with the new year coming up, it is usually a good time to start a new league. You have just about half the season remaining, and that's a good time to really get into it, get started. So you can join one of these leagues that's already here and start doing the draft itself. Before I get into doing that, so I guess just a little bit of a preview ahead of time. I want to go over what the draft is like, go over some of their other options. They do have Champions League. They have things called lightning drafts, challenges, as well as, different kinds of drafts. So I'm going to start out with the different kinds of drafts. Skipping over I guess I will do the lightning draft. I can't do it. It is a UK only thing. But I know I do have some viewers here that are from the UK, so that is something that's more of like a weekly draft style fantasy game, as it says right here. Quick way to do something, and there's actually money involved. So that's part of why I can't do it, since I am based in the US. But for UK viewers out there, if you want to get into it, have a little bit on the line, something at stake for it, lightning drafts are a way to go that you can do the money things. So, all right, moving along. Actually, challenges is another one here I'll do real quick. It's another one I can't really do because of being in the US. But if you're in the UK, you can do a challenge in one of your season-long leagues, or even if it's half a season. But if it's like a full draft game, you can challenge other people, challenge another manager, make a quick wager on, a lot of times these can be head-to-head or even in the points games. But that way you can kind of put something on the line for some of these season-long games. All right, so going back here. So first you want to create or join a league. Now, the thing you want to look at is what kind of league is it? Is it a head-to-head, or is it a points league, the classic style league? So in a classic style league, that's more of like the official game. You don't really have the salary cap, but each week, that's actually the kind of league that I am in. Sorry, I'm going to go here to Couldn't Carrick Less, which is my team, and this shows me what my team is. I'll get into this a little bit more later on, but the table. So this is for a classic points game. As you can see, it has what each week's points are, and then the total points for the season. Whoever has the most points wins the league. Now, I am actually thinking about joining or creating a new league that I want to do the head-to-head as well. Head-to-head is a little bit different in that each week, now this is more of the typical kind of US-based fantasy game. I know I've done fantasy baseball and fantasy American football here, or in the past. Still do some fantasy baseball games, but most of the time the way those work is that you kind of face off against another manager in your league each week. Whoever wins goes into the table. You get wins, draws, and losses, and then at the end of the year, whoever has the most wins wins the league. There are points involved most of the time, but really the points only come down to, so the way that you win is by having the most points for that game week against the person you're up against. So say I'm up against another team in my league, I score 34 points in that week, they score 33, I win that week. If we each score the 34 points, it's a draw. And really, a lot of that only really shakes out at the end of the season. If it turns out two teams have the same number of wins, draws, losses, equal across that, then it would go by points. Very similar to the way the Premier League works as far as tiebreakers go. Now, moving on to, so you choose whether you're doing head-to-head or a classic. And this is just for a normal draft. The way that it works, it's snake style. So they have a quick rundown of how it works. So first round, Bill goes first, followed by Ann, David, Charles, and then it wraps back around so that the bottom pick now is back up at the top for round 2, and it just alternates like a snake back and forth all the way through until you're done. You can join. I mean, honestly, I don't know why you would want to do the auto picks, but you can have auto pick on if for some reason you can't make it to the draft. But for me, I feel like the draft is probably the most fun of the whole thing. Yeah, that's the way that I feel about it. I really like doing the draft, so I like to show up and get in there and do it. If I don't see, I don't remember exactly how long. I believe you have. Oh, there it is. Each turn has 30 seconds in between and is 15 rounds of picks. It says 30 seconds in 1 hour. So it depends on what your league sets it up as. The one that I did was 30 seconds in between. Honestly, if you have a 30-second in between, you really need to be prepared. You have to know what you're doing and who you're going to pick. You can sort your team, kind of look ahead, see what players you want, kind of rank them for yourself ahead of time, get them ready in case you do need to step away. You can have it set to auto pick. It will draft whoever's next on your list. Now, otherwise, it will draft whoever they have ranked based on their ranking system, which usually goes by, at this point, it'll probably be by points during the season. But anyway, as you see here, each player has a rating between 0 and 100, depends on how good they think they are, and that will help as far as auto picks go. I mean, generally, it's a pretty good indicator. You're not going to, most of the time, you won't get terrible picks. You might get a player who is injured, and then you got to do some trimming of your squad. Now, the interesting thing about this league that I'm in is, so I am actually going to go to my team here. And so this is the way it was set up. 30 seconds. There are waivers. So when you go in to do transfers, you have to check to see which players are owned. So you can see that they're owned. I already have him in my squad. You can sort through them based on, various other indicators throughout. But the interesting thing here is you get one player from each team, so you cannot stack teams. My one Man City player is Sane. Sorry about that. My one Tottenham player is Kane. So it makes it very interesting. You really have to have a good strategy when you go into the draft. I think I probably would have done things a little bit differently if I had really sat down and taken the time to go through my team, but I didn't have a whole lot of time before this draft went through, which is part of why I want to do another draft, and also part of why I'm doing this video to kind of get prepared for that draft. The other draft option they have is auction drafts. you start out with £250 of virtual money to bid on players, and then otherwise it's kind of like a regular draft. You can own for this one, you can own a maximum of 3 players from any single club, must have 2 goalkeepers, 5 defenders, 5 midfielders, 3 strikers by the end of the draft. So it makes it very interesting who you really want to bid on. Do you want to go with Kane or Salah or Aguero or Sterling and really go all out on bidding for them? I've actually never done an auction draft, so that actually might be something interesting to do just to give that a try. So customizing your league, like I said, classic league, head-to-head, public versus private. So if you want to set up your own private league, play for money among your friends, whatever, you can do that. Then there's also the options of private leagues can have the option of adding playoffs. Playoffs are fun. Basically takes the last game weeks here to kind of have a little playoff in the head-to-head sort of fashion to see who goes ahead to win the league based on the playoffs itself. So you could have a team that, kind of like championship, you have a team that's in 4th place. They somehow manage to win the playoffs and win the whole league. That's just the way that it sometimes works out. So there are different rules that you can set. So like I said, the league that I'm in, it has just the 1 player per team. Now, you don't have to have that. It's all based on how you decide to set it up. But who creates a league, how they set it up. I think that is an interesting way to do it. But I think if I join another one, I'm going to check those settings and make sure that see if there is one that doesn't have those limits. The other thing is you do want to check to see how many teams are in the league. Sometimes, I mean, it makes it very interesting when it's a 12-team league, especially once it gets down to free agents and waivers. But sometimes, doing an 8 or 10-team league is a lot of fun because there are more players out there available, maybe a little bit more flexibility in there. So just something to think about when you're actually joining a league. You do want to check what their settings are, see if they do have auto subs on or not. I'm actually in another league somewhere else that does not have auto subs turned on, so you really have to pay attention. Get your team set ahead of get a team set and make sure you don't have any guys that aren't going to be playing on your team sitting there doing nothing for you. So actually, let's go scoring points. Scoring points, you want to check on this when you're setting up your team, because if you have a guy, I think it's Dunk, has the most own goals this season, he's going to get you -2 points for that. Looking at some of these Watford players picking up red cards, that's going to be -3. And then every 2 goals conceded by a goalkeeper or defender is a -1. So teams like Bournemouth that give up a lot of goals, or Swansea, I think, give up a lot of goals as well. You're gonna start to lose points if you have those guys in your team. But teams like Burnley are going to pick up quite a few points for these clean sheets, for these every 3 shot saves per goalkeeper. So Nick Pope is raking in the points just from that. Each goal scored by a goalkeeper or defender, 6 points. So Alonso is a really big one here, scoring a lot of goals. Midfielders get you a lot of points as well. So a lot of times these high-scoring midfielders are going to be the best way to go. Someone like Kevin De Bruyne. Actually didn't check to see if Salah is listed as a midfielder or forward for this one. But yeah, Kevin De Bruyne is a big one. Hazard has been in the past. Trying to think. Sterling is another big one. Sané, Silva. These guys that get you a lot of goals from midfield, they're actually going to get you more points for being a midfielder than if they're the same guy as a forward. And you also get the extra bonuses of these guys that pick up midfield clean sheets. All right, so transferring players. Do want to look over, see what the rules are for your team. But it is listed. Which one? So it is listed here. As you can see, the status here shows you if they're owned. This guy, he's in my squad by 100, so that way you get a better idea. Otamendi is free, so I can go ahead and add him. Now, in addition, for this league, I'd have to drop Sané. But say it's in a league where I'm able to have more players, I can go ahead and pick them up. Now, the other thing to look at is your waiver order. So every league has waiver settings. Waivers are basically if a player is dropped by another team, then they're put on waivers, and then they clear depending on what your rules are. Tuesdays and Fridays for this league, and this waiver setting has moved to last after claim, never reset order. So basically, I was the last one to make a waiver claim, and I got moved to the bottom. Now, so the way it works is if Liverpool FC here, if this guy makes a waiver claim on a player, and I also make a waiver claim on a player, he's going to get precedence. He's going to be the one that picks him up because he's at the top of the order. That would then drop him to the bottom, and everybody else would move up one. And so that's the whole way that the waivers work, is whoever is on top gets the benefit of the doubt, gets, they get the player over somebody that's below them. If a player's dropped, then they do go on to waivers. And then once waivers clear, then they become a free agent. So like Lingard here, free agent. If I would say drop Rashford and bring in Lingard for my United players there, then Rashford would be put on waivers until waivers clear, which would be, when would that be? Later on this afternoon, since I'm doing this on a Friday. So since it's 11 o'clock my time on a Friday right now, that would clear around 3 o'clock my time. So you can kind of do the maths on that as far as the time zones go. If you need a better, they kind of lay it all out here. But like I said, I want to kind of go through this fairly quickly. Don't want to read through everything. There are game week deadlines as far as getting your team set. They do have a list of all of that all through here. So you want to make sure you check that. They do update them here. They do have their own blog that you can check out as well. So that is kind of the quick rundown of the Draft Fantasy at draftfantasyfootball.co.uk. I will have a link to their site down below. If you are already involved in this, I'd love to get your feedback. Let me know if I missed anything. It would be good to have in the comments as well for anybody watching this in the future. Yeah, I think that basically wraps it up. Like I said, I'm going to be planning to do another draft, and I might actually try to do a video of the draft as I'm going through it, kind of go through some of my thoughts on it, show you like a live look of what it really looks like to do the draft. And as I said before, I think I am going to try to do a head-to-head league. Like I said, I like to do the smaller leagues, 8 to 10 teams. So I might do like an 8 dashboard. So might even create my own. Do a 8-team league. A lot of these are 12-team leagues. Yes, you can see here the way they're listed. If I go in and I click on it, then I can see exactly how it's set up. Shows you what the formations are, what you need. So you can, if you're creating your own, you can change it up however you want to do it. But like I said, you do want to go in and check that out. Make sure that you see what's going on. Oh, I did not go over the Conte points. That is something that you want to look at to see if a team has the Conte points or not. Scoring. Here's the Conte rule. So you can kind of see what it looks like. I actually do like that rule because it really does highlight some of these defensive midfielders and makes them more valuable in this game. A lot of times in the Fantasy Premier League games, these defensive midfielders don't get credit for what they're doing out there. So I like the Conte rule. I will probably look for a league that has that. Or like I said, I think I actually will create my own and then do a video on that.